Unheard Studio just released a new blog post about world generation. Hi, my name is Oxydien and I am a developer at Unheard Studio. If you are not familiar with Dome 7, it's a multiplayer underwater horror game that we are currently working on. If you want to know more information, you can visit our Discord or our website at unheard-studio.com. Before we start this video about the blog post and show you some sneak peeks, I want to include some disclaimer about this video. Please note that this video is not officially made by Unheard Studio. As a result, the content may not reflect the final version of the game. In fact, I have deliberately included some mistakes in this video. Therefore, I ask you to view this video with a grain of salt because it may not be entirely accurate. With all that said, let's begin with this blog post. So, the world generation. Here we can see a nice banner here that shows you how the basic world generation looks like. Yeah, as I already mentioned in the intro, the game is set underwater. We wanted players to experience some sense of unknown in the environment each time they start a new world. A desire to go explore, if you will. As stated in the blog post, that's the reason why we want to have the map generated. Let's go over the generation process. Although this isn't mentioned in the blog post, the generation actually begins by creating empty chunks. There's a set size for the map and for individual chunks. The world essentially creates a grid of empty chunks, only know their position. Additionally, a randomly generated number is created, which serves as a seed for the world generation later. The chunks remain dormant until any player gets close to them, and then the generation process begins. Just to clarify, this process happens separately for each chunks. So that means if you have grid of chunks and the player is somewhere in the middle, it will only generate the chunks that are around the player and not the ones that are really far away from the player. There's probably going to be option for this setting, but we'll see. The first thing the chunk does, it checks if the chunk was already generated before, so if it has any cached information in it. If it doesn't, it will use some sort of algorithm or cellular algorithm that creates a 2D matrix or 2D plane of numbers between -1 and 1. Here in the blog post you can see that the entire map would take around 12 gigabytes of RAM. Now I want to just clarify here that this number includes also the 3D terrain and all the other stuff, and was also just calculated, not tested, for obvious reason. We don't want to keep the whole map loaded because it's large and would take up a lot of space, and that's why we use the chunks, as I mentioned already, to basically split the world into multiple smaller pieces that can be loaded and deloaded on player move. We have actually a huge benefit in doing this, because this game is underwater, there's huge thick fog all around, so you don't really see too far away. Thus, we don't have to worry about the player being able to see beyond the generated world. After that, we just take for the chunk, we have the 2D height map or the 2D matrix, and we just take all of the values and create it into 3D world that the player can use. I won't go over this much. This just says that the chunk is 100 by 100. There's actually a really cool image here, which shows you visually how it works-ish. So we have the 2D matrix here, or height map, down below. So they're like -1, the like lower values are indicated by the black or dark, and the higher values, so around 1, is by the white. And this shows you how it looks in the 3D. There's the visible mesh here, the collision layer. In the game, actually, these two, like the visible mesh and the collision layer, are like in each other. They are not separated like this, and the 2D map is not there entirely, but this is just to visualize how it works-ish. This generation process is computationally intensive and could cause significant lag spikes if run on the same thread as everything else. That's why we created a separate background thread that's limited to generating a certain amount of chunks per second, preventing the CPU to overload when you teleport, move too quickly, or another player spawns. And here we talk about the mask. Now, mask basically happens actually before. Remember how we had the cellular noise here? So when we calculate 2D metrics or height map, we actually add to each value a value from the mask. What it does, it allows us to have some sort of shape or like reference we at least know how the map is going to look like-ish, and makes it easier for us to place structures around the map. So, structures. We currently don't have that many structures yet in the game, but we want to generate them based on the seed. So, basically, just to clarify again, the structure will be set, but we want to randomize the position around the map. Right now, in Dome 7, there is just the Dome 7 station, and that is just set on one specific spot that is not randomly generated. And also there's a hot dog stand that is randomly spawned around the higher parts of the map. Also, all the structures can change the terrain surrounding them to better fit in, and all of these modifications are saved with the seed and the structures themselves to the world file. Everything else is discarded, it's not saved, except for like players, items and other stuff, but yeah, we don't save the world itself. We just save the seed, the structures, and the modification that we made to the terrain. For the environment, there's nothing to talk about other than just there's the thick fog and there's going to be darkness all around you. So I have some bonus here. If you were wondering, that is it? In almost 5 months you only managed to implement world generation? Well, we also created fish and a crab. Okay. And a young tradesman from 1632 who sells arms. Who wrote this? Anyway, we've accomplished so much more than just this, but many of these features are not entirely done or are just too small to cover on their own. We are currently working on multiple major gameplay elements, and we want to keep things simple for now. So there probably won't be another blog post for a few weeks or months. And for those asking, where's the horror in this? Well, in the darkness of lunaries, there's plenty of